Okay, but this litany of potential disasters is very depressing, and you've spoken of, a few years, we've got to act. But for the moment, we've got a few days to act. There really are literally a few hours of negotiating. And you follow this, I know, for many years. Are you actually still optimistic that at the end of this week we can get something that is genuinely useful to Bangladesh, say, which is in the front line, or is this a kind of sideshow?
Optimism is a congenital disease that you must suffer from. If you don't have it, you don't come to this place. There is no space for pessimists here because the whole world is pretty obnoxious. Leaders are pretty useless for most practical purposes. They do not take the global vision that is required. They are parochial in their nature. Not only, they are not even serving their country. Let's take the example of India. The type of negotiation going on India, from Indian perspective here, is for the 300 million elite consumers of India who are emitting greenhouse gas. 700 million Indians are undernourished, if not below poverty line. Now their issues are not coming up as much, as important. Same in China. Same in the United States. There are enough poor people. They're not thinking about them at all. They're talking of the big emission and what money they might have to give. What they do not realize that, if Bangladesh sinks, then New York sinks as well. And if New York and Los Angeles and Florida sinks, then US is in dire trouble. And there will be serious problems there. So we are all together in it. And that's the message that leaders are getting. What is happening here last night hasn't been very pleasant. The various groups, the negotiation theory is a practice of group theory. You have a group of countries and they optimize their strength by that, being in that group, and then that way they can hide themselves as an individual country. And the G77 China is about 160 countries. It's a huge group. There are very many different interests. There are the Saudi Arabias and the OPEC who wants to be compensated for the loss they will get when oil becomes less used. And the difference between today's use and tomorrow's use, they want to be paid for it. Now, look at the ridiculousness of that position in a planet that is really threatened. And at the same time, they're billowing their, petroleum all around. So, and there was a story that, the Stone Age, we had a Stone Age. The Stone Age did not come to an end because there was a shortage of a stone. The Stone Age came to an end, modern technologies took over. So petroleum age will not come to an end because petroleum shortage will be there. Because new technologies will come and our social and political compunction will force us to go for newer options, low carbon options. This would be a requirement for saving everybody. We are yesterday and last night, probably the G77 and China group had a stress within themselves. This is part of the negotiation system. So I, having sort of watched this for a long time and being involved in many of these, know that this is part of the system. End of the middle week, first week, people are tired, exhausted. They are not being able to grapple with some of the thorny issues where there has to be trade-offs. You have to give something to get something. But the interest of the least protected must be protected. That's one of the human values across countries, across religions, across borders. This is not something that you have to reinvent here. However, my own feeling is G7 China will not vanish, will not crack up. This is not because of climate. There are many other issues. There is a story that's going on in New York where all these groups have to negotiate on disarmament, on nuclear issues, on issues of, armed forces within the United Nations. How do you mobilize, to hold back conflict? So there are other areas which hold them together. But in climate regime, they are under stress. This stress will not disappear, but as the leaders come, one hopes that they will go to a different plane, saying that this minutiae of differences, let's forget it. What are the 2, 3, 5 things that we need to do absolutely and what is the trade-off within that. And the 2, 3, 5 things are: how much reduction can we make, and can we distribute that? The convention, the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, categorically says that it is the industrialized country who has to take the lead in reduction emission. They have not done it. There have been some achievements, not to be undermined. Europe has done well, Japan has done well, better than others, but it's not great. US has not done well. However, to give credit to United States, the states of United States, the cities of United States, the universities, the churches, many of them have done fantastic things to reduce greenhouse gas. And many of them have declared that they will reach the Kyoto target without Washington getting involved, without the federal government. And much has been achieved. There has been technological moves, but the federal government as an entity could not go very far. President Obama, in his speech day before yesterday to the Nobel Prize receiving time, he used probably 3 sentences on climate change. And the first thing, the science is right. Second, he said his military generals are telling him that this is a major strategic threat. And I had the privilege of being invited by the State Department agencies to go to the United States and address them. And I have said that climate change is the greatest strategic threat for tomorrow. Now that message should go down in the United States very well, that it is in their interest, future interest of their own strategy, their own, internal issues and external issues, that they should make it central.
I must stop you there for a second. I know full stops don't exist in your vocabulary, so I have to use brute force for a minute.